Welcome to the Nailsin Ratings. Hey, why not do another Doctor Who video? Well, the teaser and the trailer have been out, and she and the cast have visited the San Diego Comic-Con and all that stuff. And so the new Doctor is well on her way for the new series. And so the teaser wasn't all that much. It was kind of silly. It looked like a cross between The Flash and a pizza commercial. Of course, I do understand that there were Easter eggs in it, harkening back to previous episodes and all that sort of thing, and that's all well and good. But finally, the trailer gave us a better look at what to expect from the future Doctor Who series, and we saw the companions and whatnot, and a few scenes that looks like it's probably from the first episode, where she's still in the Capaldi outfit, and coming to terms with this. Now, I do hope they're saying this is like a good jumping on point for new viewers. If you haven't kept up with Doctor Who, you wouldn't have needed to see the other shows and that kind of thing. Well, that's probably true to some extent, since they're going to be introducing, saying, new monsters and this sort of thing, and going to different places the Doctor hasn't been to before. And that's all well and good. But the most obvious new thing to deal with is, holy crap, the Doctor's a woman now. We know that this is the first time the Doctor has regenerated into a woman. There have been people theorizing that the Doctor may have been female at some point in his past. And say, oh, it could have been times when the Doctor didn't call himself the Doctor and all that. None of that is true now. You never know with this show, which is a bit clumsy and sloppy with what it establishes, even within the new series. But Capaldi's final episode established and demonstrated quite clearly that when the Hartnell, or played by David Bradley, in this case the first Doctor, regenerates, it's the first time he's ever done it. And the point of the story was that both Doctors were resistant and hesitant to regenerate. For Capaldi's Doctor, he was depressed and tired of it and just didn't care to go on anymore. And the first Doctor, it's the first time it's ever happened, so he's scared and not sure about turning into someone else. And so there you go. That's it. The Doctor was a man. And I've discussed this in another video about, with DNA floating around, sooner or later, depending on how many times you could do this, theoretically, it kind of works out, and it fits within the mythology of the Doctor that, yeah, there could be a female incarnation at some point. And so here you are. Following that line wouldn't be a bad idea. It would be interesting, and I would hope that they would explore that. And I kind of, nothing against the new companions, don't know anything about them and all that, but they're new in the fact they never met this person, and this is all going to be a new adventure. And I guess that plays on the idea of being a jumping on point, and you can kind of view the series through them as these normal human beings with this strange alien in the magic, TARDIS box and all that. But I kind of wish they had kept Bill on. Now, a lot of people didn't like Bill. She never bothered me that much. Peter Capaldi, in my opinion, was the best of the Doctors. I was about ready to give up on the series by the end of Smith's time, because there were so many teases in that series that never paid off, or the payoffs were really pathetic. And I was tired of it. And then Capaldi came along, and he was interesting, and he was clearly the closest one to the classic era of how to handle Doctor Who. The sad thing is he didn't really get any scripts that were worthy of his abilities. I mean, you can see how happy he was when he first got the role, and then by the time he leaves, boy, is he beaten down and worn out. And you can see Jodie here is all excited and happy and everything, and I wonder how long it'll be before she's, oh boy. Because granted, it's a new team and all that, and that's hopeful. That they will treat their ideas with respect and pursue ideas, not preaching political misandry nonsense, which has dragged the show down, along with teases and stupid plots that went nowhere, and payoffs that were lackluster, if even there. That too has helped to drag down the show. But again, dealing and exploring with the reality of this is the first time this has happened to the Doctor. It should be dealt with. I don't mean for the entire series, but for maybe 2 episodes, maybe a little bit here and there. And it would have been easier had Bill stayed on, because she's a woman. She can help out the Doctor. She would have known this happened. These new companions have never met previous Doctors, so this is the Doctor. They've never known anything else. So for a companion to have stayed on and actually witness the regeneration and deal with 2 different versions, and especially in this case, could have been helpful to have a companion to kind of help out the Doctor dealing with this. And it would have been even more interesting with Bill, in the sense that Bill had become a Cyberman at the end of the story. So both women would be these 2 new entities having to deal with it. And maybe there could have been a more satisfactory wrap-up or end for Bill's story. Later on with Jodie's Doctor helping her out and maybe possibly finding a way for her to return to humanity. Instead of becoming a magic water goddess or whatever that is, but whatever, they didn't do it, but still, it should be explored as something new, not something where the Doctor, finally, now I can be really cool and badass, and constantly making, get out of the way, boys, woman in the room. This type of thing, which is what the show has done, is constant sexist, misandrous lines. Need I remind you of when the General regenerated? So you could see a Time Lord regenerate from man to woman. But also a telltale element there where it had been the only time that Time Lord had been a man. Which is of some interest here about how many times this has happened to a Time Lord. But of course, continuity doesn't seem to really matter much for this show. They toss around things all the time, and then they just abandon it and forget about it. So, what does it mean? Does it matter? Probably not. But again, this could work. This can work. It does fit within the mythos. It's not like the dumb ideas about James Bond being a woman and Sherlock Holmes being a woman and all that stuff. No, it sticks with the mythos in which is the story, because Doctor Who has this ability to change, and like within the science fiction of it, you could argue that sooner or later this could happen. So the look of the trailer and all that, it looks good. It's a pretty picture to look at, not just because Jodie's pretty, she is. But a lot of the details and stuff, and the new film technique that they're using looks really great. The promo images look good, and all that's fine and dandy. But boy, I tell you, if they don't up the scripts and the intelligence of the stories, I'm going to have to bail out. So I'm going to give the show a chance, but I hope that they would have some awareness and stop being so... Look, I'm sorry, it's bigoted in these ideas, in trying to pursue a case against bigotry and sexism with more bigotry and sexism. That's not how you do that. Other things, her costume, I guess the coat's all right, but the Mork from Ork look... you can tweak that along the way. The Doctor has a certain style. They don't have to have the same out. You don't want to go through the 80s where they had these Halloween costume looking outfits. You need the Doctor can change his or her clothes at this point, so let her do that. The coat, okay, or maybe a style of that coat she keeps, but don't leave her stuck in that Mork from Ork outfit. It's pretty bad. The sonic screwdriver. Look, everybody has said it. It's blatantly obvious. How could you miss that? How could you do this to your character? I don't know. But the sonic screwdriver, still, there's scenes of her. It's become a ray gun, a magic wand, all this stuff. I wish they could do something about that and, rein that in. It's just too much of a magic fix for shows that it's just lazy, and that's been a problem for New Who going all along here. So there's a lot of things. I am looking forward to seeing what the new TARDIS will look like, and I'm hoping it'll go back to what it's supposed to look like. I mean, a lot of the new control rooms and what I didn't mind them being so tweaked and different from the classic series, but it didn't reference. The only one I saw that referenced the old series was the War Doctor's TARDIS, which we got a brief glimpse of in the special. And that would have been more akin to it. It didn't look exactly like it, but it was, like I said, a tweaked version of it, and you can kind of expand on that. The one Matt Smith and Capaldi used was probably better than the ones Tennant and Eccleston used. But, yeah, I'm hoping it gets more of that classic look than those did. But other than that, hoping better to just stick with adventure and sci-fi elements and that sort of thing, and no more stories like Smile, where you have human beings being slaughtered and then the Doctor berates them and lectures them about this new species. It's good. Half their family got wiped out, but you're the bad guys. Oh boy. Yeah, and that, like the Zygons, and he's mad at Stewart, then who didn't do anything while the Zygons had murdered people. Boy, oh boy, that's where you're more concerned about preaching than you are about your own plot, and you're completely unaware of your own story. So if you do that to Jodie's Doctor, you're doing her an enormous disservice. And yeah, she's going to be looking pretty poor and sad by the time she leaves, just like poor Capaldi did. And that's terrible. So best of luck to them, but I'm not optimistic based on the past. Granted, it's a new team, but just looking at interviews from Chibnall, he says, I think if we hadn't done it, meaning hadn't cast the woman as the Doctor, we would have been behind the world. What? We're all turning into women now, aren't we? And Doctor Who has to be out front leading the world. It's a sci-fi television show. It doesn't lead the world. So, and he says, oh, it was never a question of my mind. It was time. What do you mean it's time? It's as if it was some crime to constantly cast men in this male role. Think of any other male role, and you're making a huge mistake. You're committing some kind of slight against all women. Not to mention this whole idea of before the girls could only hope to be a companion, now they can be the Doctor too. That's a slight against all the companions. They used to get high praise and stuff when discussing Doctor Who and the women of Doctor Who. There's always been women in Doctor Who, a very vital, important part of the show. Now, yeah, you were just companions. You weren't anything. You see, you have to keep an eye on logic when you're making these statements and whatnot. If you're interested in some new idea and to see where it goes and explore the science fiction and mythos of Doctor Who, fine. But that doesn't sound like that's what the goal is. And that will be sad and to the title's detriment. Yeah. So, hope for the best. Fear the worst and hope for the best. But, yeah, I'm dubious. And so if it continues down the line that is already done before, gonna have to bail. Gonna have to bail. It's sad. What are you gonna do? But there's always Big Finish. Thanks for watching and listening. Do check out the link description below for links to my mini stores that have plenty of goodies for you.